What is going on YouTube and Spotify? This is the Just a BSN podcast, and today we have episode 36. And my lord, do we got some stuff to discuss? Lots of things happening in the sports world. There's a lot of things going on right now. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is football because OTAs are starting this week, and we've been seeing the clips. Everybody's getting hyped up, obviously, because that's how every offseason is. This for Browns fans. We see one, thing of Watson throwing to Moore or, to Judy or even to Coop, and you're like, oh, here we go. So we've been having a lot of that this week, and it's been a lot of fun. So, Andrew, how are we feeling this afternoon? Well, actually, I should say this evening because it's almost 9 o'clock now. It's been a long day. But
It
how
has
you
been a
feeling,
long
man?
day. No, man, I'm doing really well. Excited that Browns OTAs are back and football is back underway again, so we can talk some football. Guardians are looking really good, so everything's going well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everything's going well, and obviously, as we have said, OTAs and Browns talk to start it off, man.
hmm
Lots of clips that are starting to come out with the media with Watson, whether it be him throwing some throws or him doing mental reps, all that sort of stuff. You've been seeing it a lot. Players are starting to speak. Coaches are starting to speak right now. I know we heard from Bubba today about them even having kickers do more tackling drills because of the new kickoff rules. So like you're learning some newer things right now. What's your early thoughts on just things that we've seen so far, things that have seemed to have been discussed so far on Twitter?
Dude, I mean, it's just exciting stuff. Just listening to stuff like Mike Vrabel getting involved with the players. He's actively running drills with the players, like himself, like lining up at the line of scrimmage and Deshaun has, according to Jameis Winston and all the other guys, Sean's looking really good throwing the football, and I've seen the clips, and he's throwing some pretty solid balls so far. And obviously, we'll talk about later about the one that he missed and how everyone's overreacting to it. But he's definitely throwing some pretty balls right now, and you know I'm just excited to see what's going to continue here in camps, and I'm just ready for preseason already.
Oh yeah, same here. Like I'm already locked in, and it sucks too because like I also need to enjoy the Guardians right now a lot more because they've been
Yeah,
killing it. But like, man, I love football so much. Every time this
yeah.
summertime starts, I'm locked in on football, and I mean, yeah, we all as Browns fans get all giddy when we see those first camp clips, and everybody's like, "Oh, football's back!" And yeah, let me say something about Watson's arm right now. It's on air right now, so there's not a whole lot to take, but for whatever reason, and I don't know if I'm actually correct on this or not, but it seems like his throwing motion has changed
Yeah, it looks
since he
different.
got his surgery. It looks a little bit shorter. It doesn't look like a baseball throw like it did for me the first 2 years that we've had him. So I'm curious to see if that's something that he has had to work on. It could have been with his guys just saying like, "Hey, in order for you to keep your arm, you're gonna have to change your motion," and it looks like a more football style throw, and it looks pretty. I mean, honestly, it seems like he's starting to zip the ball. It looks smoother, and again, this is on air, so you can't really take a whole lot from it. But from what we've seen early on with him having to come off this, the shoulder injury that he did, it's just nice to see him throwing and not really, holding back. Like he's throwing deep balls. He's starting to make his reads and do the things that he has to early on. And to me, that is enough for me to be like, okay, he's on pace. Nothing should stop him from being able to play week one. And I think that's all the Browns care about. And they're not going to overdo it with him. They're going to make sure that he still gets his rest, on those days that he needs it. He's going to make sure that he gets his rehab and all that stuff. And from even what Winston was saying today, the leadership, him being able to go into his
Mhm.
his rehabs and really attack them well, like everything has been positive out of that room. That room seems to be even tighter than it was last year, and
Oh
that
yeah.
that alone is going to be big too, I think, for Watson. And I just think the vibe of Winston, man, like he's going to be one of those locker room guys that I think is really going to benefit this team so much. And I don't think that's being talked about enough. What do you think about what you heard from Jameis today? Because he had a lot of good things to say overall.
Yeah, no, I think Jameis is excited to be where he is now. I think he's unlike the Saints. I think he's in a more positive environment and a more relaxed and fun environment that he was once used to back at Florida State and in the start of his career. So he's at a position where he can just kind of chill and be himself. And again, he said all those positive things about Deshaun, and I mean we're seeing those positive things from Deshaun. I mean I just saw clips of him throwing the ball really well. He's making, like you said, he's made strides in his throwing, and he's made strides in fixing his mechanics and not having so much of a baseball throw, having more of a natural football throw and a natural QB kind of throw. And it looks good. The spirals are definitely tighter and not wobbly like they were the last couple seasons. They're a lot
Yeah.
tighter. They're spiraling better. Um, he's just making good throws, and as you said, Jameis is a guy who's definitely going to be a locker room help. He's going to be a guy who's definitely going to booster up that locker room. It reminds me of why the Guardians brought back Austin Hedges.
Yeah.
For
Same. Yeah. Same
it's the
thing.
same thing. He's a great locker room guy. Brings a lot of positive energy. Brings a lot of that hyped up energy. Like, listen, we're not out of this. Like, let's keep the shit going. Like, let's keep roll. Like, he brings a lot of good energy around, and you need that.
Oh
Even
yeah.
if even if Austin Hedges is batting like 150 and catching every so often, he brings that good energy into the locker, and everyone loves it, and everyone feeds off of that, and everyone buys into that. And so Jameis is the exact same guy. He's that guy who brings in a lot of positive energy. Obviously, he's not going to get a lot of game time when Deshaun starts and stuff like that. And we only see him if Deshaun gets injured, but he brings in a lot of that positive energy and a good vibe to where a lot of those guys like Deshaun and the receivers and the backs are going to feed off of it, and the offense is going to feed off of it, and it's going to hype up the team. And I like what Jameis said a lot about Deshaun, and it makes people more excited
Oh yeah.
for football to come back because of all the small things that, but effective things that James has said about Deshaun already. And I looking on Twitter, Brown's Twitter seems to be a lot more positive this year than it does in recent years, where it's a lot more, oh, here we go again. Deshaun's doing this and this is
Right.
happening. And, it's a lot more like, oh my goodness, this feels so nice. Like football's back. Like everyone's more happier and not
Yep.
so much more like, oh boys, OTAs and Deshaun's already throwing the shittiest balls out there. So it's a lot more nicer to be on Twitter now and seeing all the positivity going on, except for the people that just straight up hate Watson.
Right, which I mean is gonna happen. Like it
Yeah.
just like that. That's just how it's going to be. But I feel like it's that way with just every team in general. Like you're always
Mhm.
gonna have certain guys that a lot of fans don't really like for whatever reasons that they have, whether it just be them as a player, as a person, whatever. You're always gonna have that. So it just is
Or
what it
they
is.
just
But
hate
yeah,
period.
right. And yeah, I feel like the vibe has been pretty chill for the most part. Obviously, everybody was kind of not overreact, reacting to that one throw, with Elijah.
Mhm.
Um, but again, you also gotta understand A, this is on air, and B, Watson is still early in the stages of him really, really throwing. So like you're gonna have these bumps and bruises, and that's okay because it's May 30th, right now as we're doing this podcast. So you can't worry right now. You can't take too much into account when you see videos like that. It is what it is. Um, and honestly, I would rather see it in overthrow than in underthrow at that point because then it
Yeah.
shows that his strength is at least there. So now he's just got to continue to dial it back. And if his throwing motion really has changed, then he is gonna have that anyway
Mhm.
because he's dealing with the new throwing motion and all that. It's gonna take time anyway.
Yeah.
So if
Mhm.
that really is the case, then that's even more of a reason why he's gonna miss a throw like that. But also he's throwing to like Elijah Moore. Cooper ain't there. I don't know if Judy is there. I haven't seen Miles. So again, it's OTAs. It does do this stuff doesn't matter. The only thing that matters right now is getting the young guys involved. And you're seeing guys like Tillman I saw quite a few clips of him today. Looks like he was starting to catch the ball better. So I'm really curious to see if he is going to
Mhm.
take that next progression because that is a guy that I mean, if Tillman can get a little more involved and be a nice like wide receiver 4 or even 5 for us, that's big, especially with another big body like that. It would help us, especially in those goal line instances, or when one of these guys will eventually go down for a few games. It's just going to be nice to have him.
Yeah.
So, hoping that he could take that next stretch. I saw Bell a few times as well. I mean, Bell is who he is. I think he's just a poor man's Jarvis, and that's fine because as long as he's catching the ball, that's all you need Bell to do. It's not like you need Bell to throw up 100-yard games because he just
No.
doesn't need to. Like he's got 4 guys in front of him that can easily do that. At least 3. But seeing more involved, that's always nice to see. I really want him to have a nice year or two for us because he is also a guy that is plenty talented. He's plenty fast. He's a great route runner, and with the 3-headed monster that we have at wide receiver, there's no reason at all like why we can't create good separation in games with those guys and really make plays for Watson anyway. So yeah, I'm just really excited again that uh, OTAs are here. But I do want to discuss, and I know you mentioned a little bit, or earlier as well. Rabel was out there, and I'm really curious to see what his role is going to look like. Is he going to be a little bit of everywhere? Is he going to be with the defense bunch a little more with Schwartz? Because if that is the case, I think that is the perfect place for him to kind of put his handprint on. Um, but also just having another like keen eye for the way guys are starting to develop in these practices because that's what this is. I mean, OTAs are here because you want to see what the younger guys have, or the guys that haven't played as much get to see how they've progressed through the offseason. How much have they learned of the offense so far? That has probably changed a little bit with Ken Dorsey's handprint on this as well. So it's cool to see him out there as especially in the titled role that he has. I wasn't sure how much of actual coaching he was going to be. I almost thought he was going to be like a junior GM sort of vibe, but it seems like he's going to be everywhere, and I just like that because I think Frabel is such a great coach. I think that he brings so much experience to this team and into that staff. There's just no reason why you shouldn't have him out there as much as you can. So what do you think? And so far, what do you like about just seeing him out there with the guys clearly working with them, especially.
I think it's a very important thing for him to do that. I mean, there's a reason why you brought him in, and it wasn't just to kind of sit on the sidelines and just kind of talk to defensive guys or just talk to the
Yeah.
guys around him and just be a boost of confidence that the players need. No, he's there to work with the boys, and you see he's getting involved. He's lining up at the line of scrimmage, like getting ready to sack Deshaun Watson, and he's out there, you know, getting more involved. I mean, he turned to one of the guys who caught the football and said, "I'm gonna punch that ball and next time, motherfucker," or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he's actually getting in there and getting involved, and I think there's a very good reason for that. And I know Jim Schwartz is a big part of why he is like that because I think Jim Schwartz wants him to get more involved too. Because we all know Mike Vrabel is a very good defensive coach. He's a very good defensive mind. Obviously, he's one of the best defensive players at Ohio State in Ohio State history. Like Mike, you brought in Vrabel for a reason. It just wasn't to sit back and watch. It was to sit there, get involved like he is, and he's probably gonna have a lot to say with the defense too, or a lot
Yeah.
to do with the defense. Like we all know that Jim Schwartz is the defensive coordinator, but there's I'm sure Vrabel is going to get his hands on some of those plays, and
Yeah.
he's going to have something to do with a lot of what's going on the field as well. So again, you don't bring him in a guy like Mike Vrabel just to stand on the
Sit back.
sideline.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, there's something going on, and obviously Pat McAfee talked about it on his show,
Yeah.
and called Mike Vrabel a weapon, and he even said that there's a very high percentage chance that him and Jim Schwartz are cooking together. Like
Yes.
they're making the playbooks together. They're cooking together, and when you get two insane defensive minds like those two together, if that defense was number one last year, they're
It's
gonna
gonna
break
be
records this
yeah.
year.
Yeah.
They're breaking defensive records this year because there's no reason why you didn't bring in Vrabel to do something like he's here to do shit like that. And
Exactly.
and I'm sure you also brought him in because in case if Jim Schwartz decides to leave and maybe in the next year or two or a couple of years or whatever, you already have the next defensive coordinator lined up right in front
Yeah.
of you and Mike Vrabel, so he can just slot right in and just take over.
Exactly.
So there's various reasons of why Mike Vrabel is here in Cleveland. He chose Cleveland over other places. Number one, it's his home.
Right.
Number two, he can get his hands on the defense, and he doesn't have to worry about head coaching and being the man at the helm. Like he doesn't have to worry about that stress. He can just focus on what he can do and make free. He can make an impact where he can make an impact. And I know he has that hands on the defense with Jim Schwartz. Like they're cooking something together in the
Yeah.
playbooks and they're making plays together. Like it's going to be scary. And Pat McAfee told teams, watch out. I know a lot of guys don't have the Browns making the playoffs or just shy of
Which
making
is
the playoffs.
crazy to me. Yeah.
Like, he's like, if you thought this defense was insane last year, especially with injuries, they're going to be even crazier and even scarier now because now they have backups for all those injury guys and
Yeah.
they're going to be even more crazier and dangerous. So if their offense isn't doing anything, their defense will.
Yeah. And I think having to bring him into first of all, he's a player's coach. Um,
100%.
I have always heard like everybody that I've ever heard that has played with him, over the years, everybody says Vrabel's awesome. Like they have nothing but good things to say about him.
Mm-hmm.
So the impact that he makes alone is it's already been proven anyway. So it's not a shock to. But yeah, again, with him being able to have his hands a little bit on on this defense, I think it'll be more so with the personnel for each
Mm-hmm.
package. I think he's going to be a guy that's really going to see like, okay, these guys are going to fit in this certain type of say, of third and down, third and long, whatever, certain packages and stuff. That's I think what he is really going to help Schwartz
Mm-hmm.
in even more so, especially with these guys like Jock that are such weapons, and when you could put them in the best possible spot for them every single time to have success, it is going to benefit your team tremendously. And if Jock can build on what he did last year and he have an even better year, that is what's scary. Because Jock, I think, led the league there for a while in TFLs. The dude was just a freaking madman on the field all of the time. And then when you bring in guys, obviously like Garrett, you bring back Zedarius, you bring in Michael Hall Jr., you keep Hurst, you keep Harris, Tomlinson's still here. Wright had a great year last year. He can build on that. Like there's so much going for this defense and the guys that we brought in this year, even to kind of replace guys that played well, but these guys can play better. Like Hicks and some of these other guys that we brought in. Obviously, having to bring back oh, what the heck is his name? McLeod. Bringing him
Mm-hmm.
back, I think was huge because I thought he just played a really big part in the communication on the defensive side of the ball. You still keep Newsome, so you still have the three-headed monster at corner as well with Ward. I remember sending Newsome. You just have guys everywhere that are ready to go, and it's going to be special. And I just really hope this team can stay healthy this year
Mm-hmm.
because that is going to make the biggest difference between being a 12 or 13 win team to another 10 win team, which is still going to get you in the playoffs. But I think you have to try to win this division
And you have
this
a great
year.
chance of it too.
And you have a great chance of it because, first of all, I don't think the Bengals are going to be good this year. I think they're going to have another down year
Even though
with,
everyone hypes him up so much right now this
yeah,
year,
because Burrow he is not 100%.
he will
You
never be
don't,
ever again.
yeah, you do not know what's going on with Chase. You do not know what's going on with Higgins. that team has a potential to have a really down year. They obviously
Also,
lost Mixon as well.
Trey Hendrickson requested a
Yeah,
trade too, and that's
yeah.
their
So
best
like,
defensive player.
yeah. So like again, they have drama over there that they needed to handle. I'm really surprised they kept on Zach Taylor. I really do. I think Zach Taylor's been such a fraudulent head coach
Oh,
in this league for a
100%.
while. I've always thought he's been bad. He's probably not bad as a OC, because he obviously had success. I think it was with the Rams there a few
Yeah.
years ago, but I just don't see him being able to bring that team together fully. And the Ravens, I mean, they're as good as they're going to be, and the Steelers, I think, are as good as they're going to be. But I'm not afraid of this division as much as I have been in the past. It's still going to be a tough division. Like everybody's
Mhm.
going to win probably 8 or 9, 9 games, and then there's going to be that team that's got to win 12. And that's how this division is going to have to go. So the Browns just have to lock in. I do not think this schedule is as hard or as difficult as it's being made out to be. Obviously, you got the Chiefs, you got Miami, but other than that, there is not a lot of teams on this schedule that really scare me because I don't think Jacksonville's going to be good. The Chargers are going to stink. There's just going to be a lot of teams that just won't have as good of a year this year as they have been previously, and this is the chance for the Browns to really set themselves apart and really make a legit crack at this. Especially with, you got teams like Houston and stuff that are going to be good. Houston is going to win that division. The Colts will be better because they're going to have Richardson back. So that division will get scarier. But, uh, there's just not a lot of teams in the uh, AFC that really, 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 really scare me. NFC is going to be the side that's going to be a little bit more clouded, I think, or clogged. So yeah, it's going to be up to the Browns. But again, we're in OTAs right now. We still got a long road to go. We still got a lot of mini camps and stuff to go through.
Mhm.
So until that happens, I got to try to keep the brakes on it. But yeah, I'm just really excited to see everybody out again. And I can't wait to see when the real mini camps start to where everybody has to be there and guys get to finally come back out. I'm really excited to see when Chubb gets to get a chance to start being on the field again. Because when that happens, dude, if you thought the media has been positive right now, the minute we see Chubb on the field,
Oh, it's game over.
everybody's gonna be like, "Oh my god, I'm so happy right now!" Like everybody's gonna be crying on Twitter because they're gonna be so happy to see him.
Oh, 1,000%. And again, it's just all good things going on right now. And even there's so many good things said about Ken Dorsey too. Like
Yeah,
Jameis Winston said a lot of good things about Ken Dorsey. So did the offensive players, and I think this is definitely the best coach team in the NFL of what coaches you have. I mean, you
yeah.
have Kevin
It's a
Stefanski, who's
it's a
two-time
stacked
coach of the
lineup.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah, offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey, which I don't know why the Bills got rid of Dorsey. Like that's kind of a weird move. You got basically two defensive coordinators in Vrabel and um, yeah, you got two defensive coordinators basically. It's just it's wild, man. Like
well, and too, you also have to think. Obviously, Stefanski has
yeah, Jim.
gotten head coach of the year twice. I'm pretty sure Vrabel did it, and I'm pretty sure Schwartz did it too.
Yeah, Schwartz. I mean, Schwartz got defensive coordinator of the year,
Yeah,
didn't he? So, and again, that's why you have like two DCs. You have Vrabel and Jim Schwartz as two
yeah, that's
DCs,
insane.
basically. Like this team is stacked, and like you said, the schedule isn't all that brutal. I mean, yeah, your first game is against the Cowboys, but you're at home, which the fans will definitely help you out with that. And you beat the
Yeah.
Cowboys in Dallas 2 years ago, and then
Especially if you get another like ugly game like last year when we
yeah,
had Cincinnati, I think week one, and I mean, that's when the
it was
defense started to make their mark right away.
yeah. Yeah, if you have that defensive performance again, Dallas has got no chance on you. And then you literally play Jacksonville, the Giants, the Raiders, the Commanders. Your real first tough game is not until week 6 against Philly in Philly,
Yeah,
and then you play the Bengals and the Ravens, and then you play the Chargers. You have your bye, then you play four teams that are not scary at all. You play the Saints, the Steelers, the Broncos, and the Steelers again.
Yeah.
The real challenges was once you get to Week 15, because then you play Kansas City,
Yep.
then you play Cincinnati, Miami, and Baltimore. And that last four games is probably your real big 4 game stretch that's like really difficult. But
Uh,
again, you play Miami in the middle
at
of
home, yeah.
December.
Yeah.
In the middle
Well,
of
actually, no,
December.
it's late December, I think. I think it's like the 29th.
It's like the 29th. It's like
Yeah.
because you play them the second to last game. I think it's on. I have it right. You play them December 29th at 8:30 too at night.
Yeah, so it'll be a night game. Yeah.
It's
So
it's
it'll be nice and
a
cold.
it's a Sunday night football game, so it's gonna be freezing cold. It's gonna be probably like 20 degrees. It's probably gonna snow like hell.
Yeah.
Like you really look what happened when Tua played against the Chiefs in the playoffs,
Yeah.
and it was like that. He could not do shit.
No.
And he struggled so hard, and he couldn't find Tyreek nothing. Like,
and Miami's O line struggled as well
yeah,
back then, and I don't know how much work they've done, to improve that O line, but if they can't improve that O line the way that it needs to, I mean, they just signed Waddle to a big deal. Which,
yeah,
by the way, Jerry Judy's contract is looking better and better every single day. Oh my God.
yeah,
Everybody that's getting these 3-year deals. I mean, you got Devonta Smith that had a 3-year, $75 million deal.
yep,
Nico just got paid. You know, these guys are getting paid ridiculous money, and we
yeah,
got Jerry Judy on a deal and a half. And if he even pans out for 2 years, that's still worth it, because that last year is probably going to be a void year anyway, or a option year. And by
yeah.
then, Coop is going to be gone, and by then you still have first round picks again. Now next year you have first rounders again.
And the thing
So
is,
it's
you drafted Jamari Thrash, who has looked good
Mhm.
in OTAs too. Like Jamari Thrash isn't bad at all right now.
yeah, he's gonna be a
So
nice little speedster for us.
yeah, he's supposed to be what Anthony Schwartz was supposed to be.
Yeah,
Oh, but no, like you said too. Like I don't think I fear this division at all, because the Bengals have done nothing to get better. Their offensive line is still garbage. They got rid of their best running back. T. Higgins wants out, and is most likely going to get out because he doesn't want to sign a tag.
yeah,
Trey Hendrickson again also doesn't want to sign a tag and has requested a trade. So that's your best defensive player, and you didn't upgrade anybody on defense. And then you're going to give Jamar Chase the bag, which is why these guys are leaving, because they all know you're going to give Jamar Chase the bag. So that's why they're leaving, because they're not going to get shit.
Mhm.
And you already gave Joe Burrow the bag, and he can't stay on the field. And there's reports that his wrist will never be fully healthy.
yeah,
After breaking it, he's probably going to be around 70 to 80%. And looking at some of the throws he's made are underthrown. They're not fast. They're not zip. Like he can just get the ball deep enough. Like if he can't get the ball out, especially in time and whatnot, and he can't make good throws because of his wrist, his career is over.
yeah,
He's already torn his ACL twice, and he has a broken wrist that he's not going to be fully recovered from, because of the ligament in there is never going to fully heal.
yeah,
And if you continue to get sacked as much as you do, dude, you might as well call it. You're going to end up like Andrew Luck, where your career is going to be over by the time you're 30.
yeah,
And it's going to suck, because you're one of the best quarterbacks probably we would ever see, and you won't get to have a full career because your organization doesn't care about you.
yeah,
They don't care
yeah.
to put people around you. All they did was give you Jamar Chase, and they're like, okay, cool, we're gonna make the Super Bowl, we're gonna do this,
Yeah.
and we're gonna do that. And
And
it's
listen,
like
they did, but
they did,
how long?
but at what
how long
cost?
did that run last? 2 years, and now they're
Yeah.
back to being sort of a. They're gonna end up being a bottom feeder, because
Yeah.
even if you sign Chase to a deal, cool. Good luck getting anybody else.
Yeah,
Good luck being able to fill out your offensive line and really like solidify
yeah,
it, because it's just not gonna work out.
yeah. And this is and going to the Steelers, this is probably Mike Tomlin's last season coaching,
Yeah,
and we don't know if Russ is gonna be any good anymore. I mean, he sucked in Denver for his couple years in Denver. We don't know if he's gonna ever cook ever again, like he did
yeah,
in Seattle. And if he doesn't, the Steelers are fucking doomed because they have no receivers. George Pickens wants out. Like, again, you didn't get good. The only thing you got better at was getting that rookie tackle in the draft. And that's the only upgrade you really got.
Yeah.
You don't have any running backs. Jalen Warren's probably your best back, and yeah, he had a good season, but is he even going to be able to replicate that season? If not, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
If Russ can't throw the ball because you lost Washington, you're going to lose who's the other guy that they have besides Pickens? I can't think of his name.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
And then you have an okay defense.
Yeah.
Like I'm about to look up this guy's name, but
the only guy on their defense that is going to be a lot better for the Steelers is that cornerback from last year. He was a rookie. He's going to be solid, I think. He's going to have a better year two, because I've heard he's put on some weight. I think he'll make a good impression in year two. So yeah, he's going to be great. And I think they got Patrick Queen. So like they did improve the defense, but that's just how the Steelers have always been. They've always been a better team on defense. They haven't really been a great offensive team since Big Ben. And that's what you're going to look for. And, it stinks that, they did all of that work on defense for nothing. But, yeah, I just don't think that Russell is going to be able to hold his own. And I feel like at some point, Steelers fans are going to start getting pissed, and it's going to be a Johnny Manziel type of vibe where they're going to be like, hey, we need Fields on the field because what the fuck did you trade for him for?
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was Deontay Johnson. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
But again, going back to the Steelers, like wide receivers, they have nobody anymore because again, Washington's gone, and so is the other guy I just mentioned, and the wide receivers are Roman Wilson, who they drafted out of Michigan, some guy named Deuce Watts, Quez Watkins, George Pickens, Denzel Mims, who they randomly picked up from the Jets for no reason, Scotty Miller, and Van Jefferson.
Yeah, so a lot of guys that are like,
and Marquez Callaway too.
So I mean,
it's a
basically bummy. They're banking on Pickens being
the
wide receiver one, and listen, he can, but it's only for the deep ball.
It's the same situation.
He's a two route running. Yeah, he's a two route a wide out in my opinion. So
yeah, it's the same as Jamar Chase. Yeah, Jamar Chase has blistering speed, but when he plays against real corners like Denzel Ward, he gets cooked every single time because he only knows two routes, and that's either go straight as fast as I fucking can or just have a hard cut down the middle of the field.
Right.
And then I'm not scared of the Ravens really much either, because even though some of the games they did play, they struggled hard.
Yeah.
Like, they're not even, like, cool, you got rid of all of your running backs for Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry hasn't been the same in the last 2 years. Like, you have no wide receivers. Your defense is, you got rid of half of your defense. You got rid of, like, the likes of, like, Patrick Queen and other guys. You lost half your solid defense. You don't have a front line anymore to protect Lamar Jackson. Like, the only person who will save you is Lamar, just because he runs the ball all the fucking time. And that's the only thing he's good at. So the only real there's no, like, yeah, the Ravens are probably gonna be your best competition.
They will, because it's still, I mean, they still have Derrick Henry. And he's gonna be good enough.
And it's just like, in my eyes, the Browns are the most complete team in this division.
Absolutely.
Top to bottom. And for some reason, everyone's like, oh, the Bengals are going to win 13 games, and so are the Ravens. And the Browns are going to finish bottom because they're going to finish with 9 wins, and the Steelers are going to win 10. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, this is, like, don't get me wrong, this is what we want. We want to be doubted. Just so we could come back and win 13 games and make the postseason.
Right.
And win the division, and everyone's like, "Oh shit, the Browns are actually good." It's like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah, like, what did you expect? Like, we can't, because that's the thing, about us with these Browns.
The Browns is the Browns.
Well, that, and it's just like, we've had good years, and then and then we'll have 2 or 3 bad years.
Yeah.
And I think what the fans are really trying to wait on is us being able to put it together for a year two. It being able to have a more a consistent, you
Mm-hmm.
know, elevation. And I think that's why a lot of fans are still hesitant, and that's fine. I get it, but like this is not the same Browns that we've been a part of for so many years. This
Yep.
team is coached well. They have no drama. Everybody is getting healthy, dude. Once Chubb comes back, this
It's
team is
over.
going to be menacing.
It's
Because
over.
if he can even get to 75% of what he was, that is still Nick Chubb, and it's 75% of Nick Chubb, and it's better than nothing
And did
because
you
that
see
dude's
what
unstoppable.
did you see what Mina Kimes said on Twitter?
No,
Mina Kimes said because the Browns are gonna run majority shotgun offense this year
okay,
for Deshaun,
yeah,
and everyone's like, well, what about Nick Chubb? And Mina Kimes is like, it's not gonna affect Nick Chubb at all because
hmm.
in shotgun formation he's number one in yards and rushing yards per carry. He's like number one in yards per attempt or whatever. He's like number one in this like even in shotgun formation, Nick Chubb is still the best running back in the league
Yeah,
in shotgun.
because he has more space and more eyes on what hole he has to hit and what moves he has to make in order to get to the hole. I just think it's going to help the running back crew that we have in general,
Mm-hmm.
being out of a predominantly shotgun, full formation, especially when we've been an I formation team for like fucking 4 years.
Yeah,
It's time to switch that up because
and,
everybody knew when we were under center what was going to happen. You know?
and there's a lot of rumors going around from like Mary Kay Cabot and the likes of like Pat McAfee and stuff like that, saying that there's a good chance where this could be the year where we don't see Kevin Stefanski call plays and it's Ken Dorsey calling plays,
Yeah.
and Kevin Stefanski would actually be more focused on the head coaching than he would be the play caller.
And we've
Or
been
there's a
saying that all along, how much we would love that.
well, and the thing is too is like they said it could be the first half of the season or the first like 4 games or something where Stefanski would call plays, and then once you get Nick Chubb back, that's when Ken Dorsey would start taking over as the predominant. Because they said eventually, sometime this season, Kevin Stefanski might slowly hand the play calling to Ken Dorsey,
Yeah.
probably, and it could be halfway through the season where like Kevin Stefanski would coach half the year and then Dorsey would coach the other half or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
and then next year it'd be all Ken Dorsey's offense, not Stefanski. Like Stefanski will have something to do with the offense, but he's just going to focus on being the head coach and not being the play caller.
And that's
And
fine. Like I've been wanting that for years.
and I think, well, that's the thing. I think Kevin Stefanski was waiting for someone to come in who was actually going to fit the role of what they wanted
Yeah.
to be the play caller and who knew Deshaun Watson well enough and knew Deshaun's style well enough to come in and be the predominant play caller because, you know, Josh Allen and Deshaun Watson are similar play styles.
Yeah.
They could throw the ball deep, they could run the ball like hell. So you bring in a guy like Ken Dorsey who knows basically the style of a Deshaun Watson and Josh Allen, and it fits perfect. Where Kevin Stefanski is more of a Kirk Cousins guy
Yeah.
and a Tom Brady type of guy, a guy who's more of a pocket passer and just sits in the pocket and waits. So this, you could see this is going to be more or less Ken Dorsey's team slowly as the season progresses, and this is his offense, and he
And
calls plays.
yeah, and I think that will help elongate Stefanski's career because then you
Mm-hmm.
won't have to just blame him on the struggles
No,
of the
we can blame
offense.
Ken Dorsey.
Yeah, you can blame Kevin Dorsey, and if it starts to go wrong, and Stefanski, it's Stefanski says, "Yeah, I know, I'm gonna be a little more involved again," then that's fine because then we've seen that. But yeah, again, you saw the way that he played, or that he had us play when we had Flacco, and it
Mm-hmm.
worked, but it only worked for a certain bit of time. And I think
Mm-hmm.
just elevating and understanding that in order for us to win with Watson, this is the kind of stuff that we have to do, and that's okay. Um, and again, it still gives Watson the freedom and the ability to a scramble when he needs to, and b
Mm-hmm.
move outside of the pocket because he's clearly not good in the pocket. That's not the type of quarterback he's ever really been. He can do it, but I just think you got to start playing to his strengths, and that's the reality that Stefanski I think had. And he was like, screw it, let's go, like let's do that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, and I'm really glad they did that. Um, one little note before we move off to the Guardians. Currently seeing right now, Luka Doncic
Oh
is
my
going
god,
off
he's
right now against
insane.
the Wolves. He outscored the T Wolves in the first quarter. He scored 20 points. The Wolves scored 19. He's currently got 22. So I'm personally really rooting for Luca and for Kai because I really want to see them in the finals, and I thought Luca got absolutely burned on the MVP this year because I really thought he was the most valuable player in the entire
I did
league,
too.
and it wasn't even a contest. So um, hopefully they pull that out. I'm really gonna look forward to them. But yeah, um, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Yeah, so we're gonna start moving over here to Guardians talk because obviously they're still playing well. They just lost their first series I think in a long, long time. It's been a minute since we've lost a series. It was
Yeah.
it was only a 3 game series. It was against the Rockies. They're not the greatest team, but it was in Colorado. So we also I don't think really had the best pitching matchup for that series. So it wasn't really anything to really get up in arms about. But still, guys are that aren't playing well and have that been playing well are continuing to play well, and obviously our relief pitching has been top notch for us this year. I think it's been the most dominant one so far in the entire league. I know they lead the league in basically every major statistic that you can have for pitching. Um, and it seems to be the only issue that we have right now again is starting pitching. And what I want to start this talk off with is the idea of trading for a starting pitcher. What are your thoughts on that? Because I personally think, obviously, we are contending it and doing well so far, but I think for the longevity of this team and being able to really set themselves apart from the rest of the league, it's going to be some sort of trade with a team to get a high quality starting pitcher. What do you think about that?
I mean, you have to. I think it's a very much a need at this point in time that you need basically a Shane Bieber replacement because you need a guy who pitches like Shane Bieber to be on this team to elevate the rest of the pitchers and to get the rest of the pitchers feeling more confident. Because I think what you're seeing now is these pitchers are trying to step up and be that role, and it's backfiring on them because that's not who these guys are. Now Tanner Bybee might be yes, because Tanner Bybee is pitching very well, and I will give him the props. And Tristan McKenzie's having he's
Some
not
better success, yeah.
he's having some better success. He's not obviously the Tristan McKenzie we knew and loved. I don't think he will be until he gets surgery, but he's doing enough right now, and I think that's why he hasn't gotten a surgery yet. It's because he's trying to just stay in until he's able to be like, okay, we got a pitcher, we got Gavin Williams back, we got another starter from someone else. I can just disappear, get surgery, and just be healthy for next season. And and obviously Logan Allen got killed the other night, but again, I don't blame the young kid. He's in his second year. Like starts like that are gonna happen every so often for you, so I can't blame you and pin everything on you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Unlike everyone else decides to, but no, I think you have to go out and get a pitcher. There's no reason not to, and you have to get a good quality starter from someone who's willing to give up a good quality starter. And I've heard this from I think it's Jensen Lewis, a former Indians pitcher back in the late 20 or 2000s, early 2010s.
Yeah.
He said that the Guardians have to get a starting pitcher if they feel like it's like 2016 where they were what like in 2016 where they got Andrew Miller.
Yeah.
They said they had that feeling where it's like in 2016 they're like I think we're one piece away in the bullpen to where we can make this World Series. And they went out and got Andrew Miller and they did. They made the World Series. They went 7 games in the World Series and almost won. And he said the same thing. He's like, if the Guardians do get a starting pitcher by the deadline,
Yeah.
that tells you that they feel like they're a piece or two away where they feel like they're going to make the World Series or make a deep run in the playoffs. And it's not even the rumors I've heard about starting pitching. There's rumors that we could go get Bo Bichette from Toronto,
Yeah.
where we can give up a couple minor league guys and get a true starting shortstop that you've been missing for the last couple of years when you traded Frankie Lindor away.
Yeah.
And if you could replace Frankie Lindor with a guy like Bo Bichette, who is quote unquote having a down year, and his down year is batting 255, is his down year because
Yeah,
he's a career 300, he's a career 308 hitter in his whole
right.
career.
It's
And
insane.
if his down year is a 250 batting average, I will take that every fucking day of the week at shortstop because Gabriel Arias isn't doing anything right now. And I know this is Rocchio's like actual first real season in the majors,
Yeah.
but he's not really doing anything hitting wise either. He's batting like 208. But if you're able to send maybe Rocchio back down to AAA and get a guy like Bo Bichette to be the everyday starter at shortstop,
Oh yeah.
oh my god,
That's yeah.
it's game over. It's
Yeah.
game like the infield is now perfect. You have a good quality starting pitcher now who can pitch like a Shane Bieber. This team, and if you could continue to hit like you are and add a Bo Bichette bat like it, I mean, you could. This team is a contender for sure, and I'm already seeing people on social media saying that they have the Guardians as potential contenders this year
Yeah.
already. And if not this year, there's a good chance next year that we could be contenders.
Yeah.
So, so for if the Guardians go and get a starting pitcher, then and that tells you number one about the Dolans, but also too it tells you a lot that if the Guardians go and get a starting pitcher, they believe they can make the World Series this year.
Yeah.
They really believe they're World Series contenders that can make the World Series this year, and they did the same thing in 2016, and we made the World Series.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't see why you don't make that an option, especially with how well this team
Yeah,
is playing. You are literally a piece or two from really starting to set yourself apart. And luckily, our AL Central
yeah.
is weak as fuck, and it's just a good division to be in for us right now because it still gives us some leeway on being able to miss a few games and still have not every starting pitcher played dominantly, because even then we seem to kind of overcome it because of how good our relief is, and also just how well guys are batting. But I
Mhm.
think the other good thing is, and we talked a little bit about him last week, is Gavin Williams is going to be probably set to return here pretty soon. I know he pitched an inning today, I,
Yeah,
I believe.
he pitched an inning
um,
tonight.
so I believe he is probably going to get a little bit more work in AAA before they totally decide to have him come up. We do have a 2 series stretch here at home, so I can see us bringing him up at some point in one of the stretches, or even going on the road with us for the next series. I think it's probably going to be about that time. You also have Quan, that's getting some more work. I think he'll be back a little bit sooner than Gavin Williams will, and that kind of goes into my next conversation here that I want to have. Um, with Quan coming back to the starting lineup here soon, Freeman's been batting incredibly well as our leadoff hitter, and Quan has been our leadoff hitter even before that. With Freeman playing so well, what do you want to see out of Vote with this lineup, and how he wants to change it? Are you moving Freeman out of the leadoff spot right away with Quan, or are you keeping him there and still trying to keep Quan up, either around top 4 spots, or do you put him around like sixth or seventh or even eighth and have him be more of that second cleanup hitter, per se, even especially with Manzardo is getting up to about 5 or 6, I think, is where he's at in the lineup currently. He's starting to bat well. Fry is still continuing to bat 350.
Which is
So
nuts.
batting is still not an issue for us. So I'm just curious, uh, what you think is going to end up have happening. Do they try to get Quan right in there right away as a leadoff, or do you wait a little bit and let them slowly climb up and find a good spot for either guy?
I think what they're gonna do first and foremost is probably start Quan towards the bottom of the lineup, just to get him back incorporated into major league hitting, because obviously he missed a few weeks already.
Yeah.
So I think what they're gonna do is they're gonna put him towards the bottom of the lineup or in the middle of the lineup somewhere, and just let him get some at bats. just so he can get back into the rhythm and back into the smooth. Because I think he comes back this weekend because he has his jersey giveaway on Saturday, and I think he's going to be there for that.
Yeah.
And he also played tonight too with Gavin Williams as a starter in game one of the Clippers doubleheader in AAA. So he did bat tonight, and I think he went like 2 for 3 or something.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's Stephen Kwan; he's going to,
Yeah.
but but he seems unaffected. So it's either they're gonna put him towards the bottom of the lineup just to get him slowly back into the rhythm of things, or what you could do is you could keep Freeman at 1, put Kwan at 2, and then go like Jose 3, Naylor 4, Fry 5, Manzardo 6.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it could
But
also end
or
up
you could drop
being
him, or you could just because I don't know where you're gonna drop Jimenez. You might drop Jimenez towards again maybe the bottom of the lineup to have that extra hitter at the bottom of the lineup to get things going again.
yeah. Well, because that's the other thing too is Freeman has also been playing center field as well
Yeah.
for us, and that's usually where Quan is for us. So I almost wonder if they're gonna put Freeman in like a right or even left field.
Well,
And just
Quan is our left fielder.
okay.
But actually, funny enough, I think his natural position is center field.
Yeah.
And with him coming back and some other things going on, I know you have Jonathan Rodriguez, who you called up a week and a half ago, who's been playing in right field. And obviously, you just DFA'd Laureano to Atlanta. So Laureano's now gone.
Yeah.
And I think what you can do, and everyone's going to be like, well, with Quan gone, is Fry going to get at bats and stuff like that? Like, I mean, sure, because he could.
Yeah, Fry.
He could.
Yeah, Fry still will.
Well, Fry could play everywhere in the diamond. He could be a fucking
And
starting
even
pitcher.
DH if he needs
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
But also too, what I would like to see is I know Bo Naylor has been struggling at the plate too. David Fry is also, I think, a natural catcher as well.
Yeah,
And
he is.
I mean, he has also played catcher a lot this season. So even what you could do is you could have, you know, Quan in left, Freeman in center, Rodriguez or Brennan out in right field because obviously Brennan's a right fielder. Or if you want, or here's my take on this: if you want Fry to play every single day, I think what you do is you put Fry in left field like you have been in the absence of Quan. You put Fry in left. You put Quan in center. Again, Brennan and Rodriguez can interchange in right field
Yeah.
every day. You move Jimenez back to his natural position at shortstop ahead of Arias and Rocchio.
Yeah.
And then Freeman's actual natural position was never the outfield. When
Yeah.
Freeman first started playing baseball, and especially in the majors, his actual starting position was a
Yeah, he
second
was
baseman.
Yep.
So you
I
can
know he's played third base a little bit too.
yeah, so you can actually put Jimenez back. If you're frustrated with your shortstops, you can put Jimenez back at shortstop and put Freeman at second. So that way you don't have to worry about Arias and Rocchio hitting the baseball. And you have all good hitters all around the diamond. You have great fielding still all around the diamond. It's a win-win because now you still have David Fry who gets every day at bats in left field, Quan's in center. You have Brennan Rodriguez in right. You got Jimenez in his natural position now instead of, a rookie and a guy who's been terrible for the last few years.
Yeah.
You have Freeman in his natural position at second base. And you could keep him in the top of the lineup or put him wherever. Like, it's a win-win. Like, I think that's a good problem to have if you're Vogt.
Oh yeah.
But I think, like me and everyone else, I think I'm tired of seeing. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Roki a lot. He's a great defensive shortstop.
He can't hit, man.
He just cannot hit. And the thing is, too, he is a great hitter because his AAA numbers are really good. He's like a career like 270 hitter in AAA or 260 hitter in AAA. But in the majors, he hasn't shown it yet as a hitter, and he's had a lot of time already.
Yeah.
So the thing is, do you send him back down to get some more time and just put Jimenez back in his natural position? Like, what do you do? Do you put him in the trade for Bo Bichette and just get rid of him, period, and just get rid of basically him and Arias together?
Yeah.
So there's a couple things that Vogt can do, and it's going to be interesting to see. But I don't want David Fry to lose any at bats because he is, as of right now, besides Jose Ramirez, he is your best hitter,
Yeah.
and you cannot lose that bat
No,
and
you can't.
play him twice a week because he's driving you runs and he's giving you opportunities, so you can't lose that.
Well, and I think the thing that does go into play with Fry is just him just being a switchblade. Like the dude can play anywhere. So if he's got to catch a few days or a day here and there, he can do that.
Or you can put
And
Josh Naylor at DH and put David Fry at first base because David
yeah,
Fry is a great first baseman.
yeah, yeah. But then I mean at that point too, you take at bats away from Manzardo because Manzardo is also a first baseman.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it just depends on your right fielder at that point. Like, do you want Fry to be a right fielder? Do you want Freeman to go to right or whatever? There's a lot of a lot of options there. Uh, it's going to be interesting, but it's a good problem to have, as you said. And there's going to be some tough choices to make in terms
Mm-hmm.
of guys going back down to the minors. I can see Rodriguez going down still. I can see, even Arroquio is a guy that could very well go down. You know, Arias as well is another guy you could very well see go down to the
Or just
minors, and I'm
DFA
surprised he
Arias
hasn't.
period.
Yeah, and it's just it's gonna be hard for some of those players, but I trust Vogt enough to where I at least know that he is gonna put the best players out there, and he's fully aware that Fry is a good batter, and I think that's the difference between having Vogt and having Tito is
Mm-hmm.
even though guys were playing well, sometimes they wouldn't get the at bats and the freedom to do so because he just had certain guys that he trusted,
Yeah,
and I
like
think
Loudstraw.
you just have to go with the hot hand, and you got to continue to stick it out with guys like Bo Naylor. Because you're not getting much batting wise from Hedges. You're getting great defense from both of them, but
I think
catching
Bo.
has been a tough spot.
I think Bo would definitely turn around hitting
He
wise.
will.
It's
He will
just the fact
eventually.
that he's gotta get used to playing every day now because again last year he wasn't playing at all.
Yeah.
So now you have to play every day, and I think he's getting used to that, and the bat will come around for him for sure.
Exactly. So I'm not too, I'm really not too worried about him. I'm just worried about him not being given the chance, if so. And I just don't want them to give up on him. But yeah, you got to keep guys like Fry in the ability to play, even if it is a DH spot. I think you got to have his bat. But that's the nice thing about being a Swiss, Army knife is just being able to play wherever. I mean, that's a true baller, man. Like those are guys that are super valuable to have in the Guardians slash Indians for a while have had guys like that, and it's dude, it's the best thing ever to have that guy that can just play anywhere. Just tell him where he's gonna be at today, and he can make it happen. And it gives guys like Jose the ability to not have to be on the field and be able to just DH, or even like Naylor. Naylor is another guy where it's nice to have him DH and then have Manzardo go in at first. Even when Bo and Austin Hedges as well can't catch. David Fry can catch. It's nice to have. It's nice to see Freeman being able to get a chance. And yeah, if Freeman gets to move over to second base, or even have him play a little short if you really don't want to put Jimenez there. Either way, I think it could still work and still benefit because again, these guys have had enough experience and enough reps to where you can move these guys around as long as they're playing well. You need to continue to give them their at bats and be able to give them ample opportunity. And it's definitely a good thing to have, but it's going to be a little stressful. And I'm really curious as a first year manager how Vogue is really going to adjust and keep learning from it because he's going to make mistakes, but this team is built to be great right now. Like they're
Mm.
they're they're built to play well. They play full games too. Like you don't see this team really playing those games where it takes them 8 innings like last year for them to click and all of a sudden, whoa, they scored 5 runs. What the hell? No, these guys are always coming at you every inning, every game. Um, and I think that's another ode to Vogue. I mean, I think he's just bringing out the best of these guys, and
Mhm.
that's all you can ask for out of a general manager these days. and especially out of a young team like this, I knew as soon as we brought him in that he was going to be the guy that was going to lead these guys properly, just because he is a player's coach right now. Like he was a player
Yeah,
2 years ago. No, this guy knows the game because he's played in it for so many years, and I'm just really curious to see how they insert certain guys and how this team can just continue to progress as they have. And hopefully they come into this home series and they lock it back in and they can get another good two series home stretch and play well, because we need it. But fortunately, the Guardians are still one of the best teams in the league right now. And it's just a good problem to have. So I'm excited to see what these guys have done, and to see what they will continue to do. And hopefully, we don't send a guy like Mansardo down. I hope it ends up being an Arias or a you know Rurkia, whatever we do. Send the right guys down to the minors. Don't give up on certain other guys, and let's continue to bring it. But to circle back again, I do think starting pitching still needs to be addressed, and until that becomes a thing that we address, because I think you got to do it. Um, this team is still going to have its ups and downs, because they're going to give up runs, and it's going to be up to the other guys to be able to score more runs, and then our relief guys to just continue to do what they've been doing all year long.
absolutely.
So I just don't want to put too much stress on them, because if your relief guys have to go 4 innings every night, or even 5 innings every single night, it's gonna burn them out so fast. And by the time we get to October, guys like Clace and stuff are gonna struggle, and you don't want that. So starting pitching needs to be addressed with Gavin Williams coming back. That's gonna be great, and then you have enough guys on this team currently, even in our farm system, to where if you can give up a certain bit of guys to go get improve this roster, now is the time to do it, because this team is ready to win right now.
Absolutely. And speaking of that bullpen, 2.54 ERA, which leads the majors. Next team is the Yankees with a 2.98, 2.99. So the Guardians with a healthy ERA in the bullpen, and there's a reason why they're one of the best. And they're, I think, second or third in total strikeouts too. Best bullpen in the league, baby.
Yeah,
And they're saving our ass a lot of times too.
yeah. So I mean, it's a good problem to have, but again,
Absolutely.
I just don't want them to
Don't want him
put
go.
too much stress on them, and literally become another Andrew Miller, because he
Mhm.
had that poor guy. By the end of that run, like the following year, I think he had like half of a good year, and then after that, 2017 and on was rough for him.
Yeah.
So
You don't want to wear him
I just
out.
yeah, I just don't want to do that stuff to them again. So
Oh, absolutely.
well, I think that's gonna do it for us. I know we wanted to get into some Cavs talk, but it's already an hour. I know the Cavs are trying to look into some guys. It sounds like it's gonna be up to the assistant head coach for Golden State, and then another assistant coach for
Yeah.
New Orleans.
James
Those seems
Baroga and Kenny Atkinson, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the two names that are being brought up. I have not heard JJ Redick, unfortunately, being in the mix like I want to. So we'll see what the Cavs do. I would assume they're probably gonna have a decision made, either by sometime in like during the finals or after the finals, just to give the coach, because they got to give the coach enough time to prep for the draft,
Yeah.
regardless, and then obviously free agency. So, um, I don't think they'll take too long to make their choice. I don't necessarily love the two guys yet, but I also don't know enough about them to really be excited about them. So maybe they find another Vogue for
Yeah.
the Cavs, and it ends up being a good thing. As long as it keeps Donovan here, I really don't care who the fuck we bring in, to be honest. So that's kind of my take on that.
No,
So
I agree. I think it's at this point it's basically just finding another Steven vote for these guys and who could connect with the players.
yeah, yeah. So that's all. I mean, that's all I that I care about with that. So that's really all I have to say about the Cavs right now. I don't know if you have anything else to add here before we get off.
No, I mean, I think the best candidate right now is Kenny Atkinson. I
Yeah,
mean, he's
I agree.
done he's helped Steve Kerr do wonders in Golden State.
He's
Obviously, I think he
probably
has a
done more work than Kerr has in Golden
yeah,
State, if I'm gonna be honest.
and he's also helped them with their success too
Yeah,
in the last few years. So he's a good guy. He's also worked with Allen and Levert and Brooklyn as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
So he knows those two very well, and he's done some great work. He's done great work with the New York Knicks too, and before he went to Golden State and such. So I think Kenny Atkinson's better than James Borrega, but it's one of those we'll wait and see. I mean, these probably aren't the only two they're going to interview. They'll probably interview a couple more people, I'm
Yeah.
sure, and they'll, like you said, just they'll decide by the either before the end of the NBA finals or after the finals, just before the draft, so that way they can get working on the draft and who they want and whatnot. So it's one of those we'll wait and see type of situations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it for us. I do want to say before we get on get off here, go follow us on all of our socials. So obviously we have our personals, which are linked right here, but also I'm starting to get a little more active on our personal or on our account Twitter. For this, I have a Instagram made for us, and soon again TikTok is going to be up here soon. I am going to try to do that with this video specifically. So be on the lookout here soon for some stuff on TikTok. So as soon as that gets done, I'll obviously put everything on our Twitter and Instagram. So yeah, make sure to go follow us on there. That's where I try to post these. The videos, links and stuff. I also post them on our personal Facebooks and Snapchats and all that stuff. So just trying to be a little more active. Obviously, last week we didn't really tweet anything out because I was on a little vacation for my buddy's wedding. So if you guys also want to go view last week's episode, it's also up as well. It's been up since last Friday. Again, every Friday, literally at noon every Friday, our video goes live. So be on the lookout for that, and obviously keep us on Spotify as well. We're trying to get it everywhere. So
Yeah.
yeah, every Friday at noon. So yeah, that is gonna do it for us. We will see you guys next week.